So much about the
What would you say if I turned into all the things you love to hate? And on my way comes crashing through the rotting beams and window panes.
Hey everybody, what is going on? We are back. It is the worst podcast ever. Hey guys, it's episode 44. 44 of these things that I have done and you have listened. If you have done all 44, congratulations. You win probably to listen to 45. What is going on, guys? It has been a couple weeks, probably, 3 weeks? A lot has gone on. We have a ton to talk about. We had some things go on around here that were not expected. I mean, I guess that just goes without saying, life goes on, and life throws things at you, and it's crazy. We actually, by the way, I am your host as always, Dan Roseman. So got a little bit of water in the game room here. We had a couple of days that we got a lot of rain really fast and all at once. And I had come down, in case if you guys can't tell, my game room is in the basement. And we never have really an issue with water, unless one of the ejector pumps goes out or whatever. But that's water from, the condensation from the air conditioner or the dirty water from the washer, the clothes washer. Other than that, like from outside, where I live, it's very rocky. Under the ground, so everything drains relatively quickly. I don't even get any water from the outside into my actual sump pit. For those of you that know what that is. So anyway, I had come down that morning to go to work. I get up earlier in the morning and it was pouring and it just was not stopping. And I have a window well right back here, and it kind of was filling up with water, and there's a drain in there, but I could tell from the way the water was gushing into it that probably one of my gutters from above had clogged up. And it's it's 4:00 in the morning. What are you going to do? I got to go to work. It's starting to rain. It's this gushing rain out there. And so I was really hoping that it was going to stop raining to where before that became an issue. And I was like, I think it's going to be okay. Well, I called, and it was on a weekend. I called the wife at home on my lunch break. I said, you know what, have you been in the basement yet? And she's like, no, not yet. I'm like, can you go down in there? And as soon as she came down here, turned the light on, she's like, oh, no. I'm like, so, had to come home and take care of all of that, When you have a finished basement and you hear water in the basement, it's never a great thing. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. We got stuff out of here relatively quickly, got things starting to dry, getting out of the water, getting the water up. Luckily, I have a low-lying area kind of right behind me, and that's where all the water tended to go, which is nice. I mean, technically, it's supposed to go towards the drain that's over here. When they poured my foundation here, obviously, they messed up a little bit in the low areas behind me where the drain is not. But, got a dehumidifier down here, and everything was relatively within 2 or 3 days. Everything was back to normal for the most part down here, thank God. And then, made sure the, my gutters were clear. One of the problems was that the previous owner to my house had a satellite dish up there. We don't use satellite where we do cable here. We're through Comcast. Anywho, And whoever put the what do you call it? The satellite dish up there ran the wire down along the inside of the gutter and used a ton of zip ties and then didn't snip them, to cut down the excess, just left it. And all the leaves and everything had kind of clogged in behind that. And I'd never been up there. It's so high. I do have something that can reach it, but usually I'll hire a company to come out and clean that stuff up because, I don't feel like falling off the top of my house. And plus, the rest of our house that's on the second floor is way, way tall. I have an extension ladder, but it's not tall enough. And, so anyway, long story short, like you guys really care. Everything's dry, got everything taken care of. We're going to make sure we keep an eye on that a little bit better. Usually I don't really start looking until this time of year because with all the leaves falling and we have a bunch of trees over there. But I'm going to have to, my ladder will reach that part. It's a little bit higher than the lower level because it's hard to describe because my house has several different levels to it. It has kind of the bottom level in the front, and then the back side, it kind of lifts up a little bit because there's cathedral ceilings. And then we actually have the second floor, and I definitely can't reach that. But the middle part, I can. It's a little scary, and I definitely have to have somebody holding on to the ladder. I'm not going to lie, I'm getting nervous, but I will be able to go up there and check. And probably in another week or so, I'll go back up there and check again just to make sure until all the leaves are off the trees. But for those of you that are in the Midwest, we're well on our way for that. And probably the East Coast too. So anyway, guys, that's that. Whatever. We're all back to normal down here. We're back recording. What are some of the things we're going to talk about then? Well, I went game hunting with some of my YouTube pals up in Chicago. That was a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that. The DE25 Nano is getting ready to release, which is the successor to the DE10. If you don't know what that is, we're gonna talk about it. You're gonna find out. For me, that's kind of exciting. We're going to talk about Alien Earth. I meant to talk about it last time, and I totally forgot. And now the first season's over. But I definitely want to talk about that. We're going to talk about Peacemaker. Second season of that's been in full swing. So, I know I talked about it on my channel during the first season. Love that show. And Nintendo had a direct, and there were some interesting things in there, and some things that were like, it was okay. That's whatever, So it's like most Nintendo directs. It's maybe one or two things that's interesting, and then the rest of them, you could take it or leave it, right? So, but first, I guess before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, I kind of want to talk about something that everybody's already kind of posted about and talked about and made videos about. But being that this channel is in huge part a gaming and a retro gaming channel, I couldn't see not mentioning the fact that unfortunately Billy from the Game Chasers passed away. I believe now would have been last week. I never had the pleasure of meeting Billy. I met Jay at a convention a handful of years ago. Very nice guy. From everything that I've heard from people that have met him that I know personally, he was a very nice guy, a super personable, and just somebody that everybody loved to be around. I went on a huge, for a whole year, I watched the Game Chasers religiously. I didn't watch them from the beginning, so by the time I was aware of them. Like I just was binge watching everything that I could of theirs, and then every once in a while I'd take a break, and then I would come back and like watch a whole bunch of episodes or whatever. But I was a big fan of the Game Chasers. I enjoyed their show a lot, and it was really quick. Billy had put out if you're watching this and you're watching it for gaming and YouTube, I mean, you probably have all know who Billy is, and you've seen the video that he put out when he was in the hospital. It was really quite shocking because it happened, it seemed like a little bit out of nowhere. And I guess it wasn't quite out of nowhere, that from what I've heard from people that were around him, like he was having trouble with moving extremities. And it just kept getting worse and worse. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, my throat's getting dry here. But to me, and I think to a lot of people, it came out of nowhere. And, anytime someone's a brain tumor, and that's in fact what he ended up having, God, you gotta know that's no bueno. I mean, you hear tumor and you hear brain, and it's just like, my first thing was, oh shit, and I wasn't really sure what was going on, in that case, that's a very private thing. When people go through a sickness like that, like cancer or something like that, and especially with somebody that's kind of in the limelight a little bit with, as far as in our groups, I'm sorry, guys. You want to kind of know what's going on, but at the same time respect, their privacy and what they're going through and what their family's going through. And I was really shocked that what seemed like really quickly turned around to hearing that he had passed. And, like I said, I didn't know Billy. I never met him personally, but there's another channel out there, Beat 'em Ups, and those guys put out a video, and they, obviously they were people that knew him, that were really close. And I suggest you go to their channel and watch that video. I mean, if you want to, it's kind of honors Billy. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's a rough watch. I mean, it was for me, because the older I get, I'm very empathetic to people and what they go through. Partly because, at this point, I'm 47. I've been around the block already once or twice. So, I've been there with people, with family members, with friends, and seen them go through stuff and not make it out of it. And oddly enough, two of them were with brain tumors. It really caught me. I couldn't watch. I've only watched maybe half of it, and I want to go back and watch the rest of it because I want to honor him. I mean, even though I didn't know him personally, I feel like I really want to honor what this guy was and the person that he was, and if I couldn't know him personally, at least I could watch this and have an idea and appreciate of the man and the person that he was. But yeah, just a super, super shame. Just a big hit in, just our little group of, YouTubers, as far as retro gaming world goes. And he was one of the giants. There's no doubt about it. The Game Chasers are probably one of the best and biggest YouTube channels, as far as retro gaming goes. And I guess that's all I really have to say. It's just I to his friends and his family, my condolences. And time. I don't know if I'm really a spiritual guy, but I will say from experiences that I've gone through that are close to what they're probably going through. Time, I don't think time heals all wounds, but it does help, and there will always be a part of it that hurts, and but that's because you love them so much. And if it didn't hurt, then it's gonna hurt. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, guys. I think you all know what I'm trying to say, but it's gonna hurt, and that's just because you loved him so much, because he loved you so much. And my thoughts are with all of you guys. And yeah, it's just not going to be the same without Billy. So rest in peace, my brother. So I mentioned at the beginning here that I had gone game hunting with some guys. I haven't been game hunting in a really long time. I'm going to be honest with you. My collecting had kind of really slowed down over the last couple of years, and I kind of felt like what I kind of lost my direction as far as where I wanted to go, because I kind of made some, I think, bad decisions in my collecting. Um, that kind of put me in a funk a little bit. Namely some of the things that I decided to collect, namely TurboGrafx 16. Turns out that is really expensive to collect for. So and finding stuff to buy that's not going to really break the bank is really difficult. I mean, aside from like the very common, even the sports games, it's just expensive. And I was gonna do the Dreamcast, and then I found out, that's not cheap either. So I kind of get discouraged a little bit. And so I hadn't been collecting. I hadn't been going out game hunting really. I mean, yeah, I bring home a bag of games from the one or two conventions that I go to a year, but that was kind of it. And so two guys asked me to go. They go collecting every now and again, and they don't live too far from here. First is Chris Pico. He's Midlife Crisis Media, formerly known as the Old Ass Gamer, and Captain Algebra. And those two guys go out, and I think they do two different trips. Like they'll do, Chris lives in the Chicago area. Like I live in the Chicago, what they call the Chicagoland area, but Chris genuinely lives in Chicago. And so, and then I guess other times they'll go up. Captain Algebra is from Wisconsin, and then they go up there, and they'll go game hunting up there. And this is the first time I've been invited along, so I was really excited. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little nervous because, like I said, I hadn't been game hunting in a long time, and I was kind of worried that, with the way prices had increased and what I was looking for, that I was just not going to end up being able to buy anything, because I kind of locked down in indecision on what I should get. And then one other guy was there who I never met before, but I recognized him from his channel, and that's Bobby. He has a YouTube channel, The Man Boy Cave, and super nice guy. I'd never met him before, and right away, liked him from the first minute I started talking to him. Just a super, super nice guy. And the four of us went out, like we were taking the ring to Mount Doom to look for pickups. And, up in the city, Chris knew all the places to go. I think we hit like 5 stores. And some of them didn't have that many games. Not gonna lie. Um, we went to a secondhand books, and which I have one it's not, it's not really close. It's about, I'd say, 20 miles from here north. And I stopped going because they didn't have a lot. They didn't have a lot up there in Chicago either. The one we went to, there was a couple other stores where I don't know. It just, the problem I'm having too is now a lot of the games that I really, really wanted, I bought like right at the beginning of my collecting phase. And even though I don't have a huge collection, is amongst collectors that actually call themselves collectors, I have a pretty small collection. I don't even know. I probably am somewhere around 1,000 games physically, maybe, and that's not that much. I don't know. I'd have to add it all up. Um, but I mean, that's super super small. Um, I might have more than that. I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. So yeah, first I think it was like the first two stores I didn't buy anything. And I just wasn't able to, I just didn't find anything that really I was really good to go. And I don't, I used to write lists when I went to conventions, and oh, I'm going to look for this and I'm look for that, and then like I would never find what I was looking for. Like I'd have a list, and I would go through everything, and I would just be totally bent on finding what was on that list. And then I stopped doing that, and I would say I'm just gonna go and see whatever may interest me. And a lot of times what I do now is because we have our little phones, smartphones, you go through and you price chart things, and then if you see a game that might look good, I'll put an earbud in and I'll listen to a review on YouTube or wherever. And, that's kind of how I was doing it before. So I was nervous. I was nervous when I went out because I didn't know what I was going to do. I got to be honest with you. And I did pick up some games. The third store in, I started breaking out of my fog and found some games that, I mean, maybe not the best games, but, sometimes it's the games that suck are the ones that you really want too, because they're like, this game's so bad, I want this one on my shelf. You know what I mean? And I got to be honest with you. It really, really has built a fire underneath me to start really collecting again. And which was great because, and I didn't even realize it until like the next day when I got home, or when I woke up and it came down, and you kind of start going through your pickups and seeing what you got and start testing them and cleaning, and I'm like, this is great. I'm like, I miss this, and it feels like ever since COVID hit, like I never got back to like, you go out and you come home with like 7 games or 12 or whatever it is. And then you're just going through and you're cleaning them all up and you're making sure they're in the best condition that they can be in, and you're testing them, and then you put them on the shelf, and it's so great. And I make my own custom game cases too. So now I have to actually start making more because I'm behind. I have a bunch of games on there that are loose. And so I'm starting that all up again. I'm really excited. And I got to thank those guys again. It was so much fun. We spent the day together. We started off with lunch, went to 5 different places, and then we all had dinner together. And then after dinner, I think that was it. We were out. I mean, we were like 8 or 9 hours, out and about doing all this stuff. And I want to say I picked up about 11 games. I picked up some Super Nintendo games, some Nintendo games. I can't remember the last time I picked up a new Nintendo game. And PlayStation. And the weird thing is I seem to always be picking up some like original, like the PlayStation 1. When I go to conventions or I go out looking for games, whenever I do, I always end up with like at least 2 PlayStation games. I don't know what it is. I'm not looking for them necessarily, but then it's like, oh, I'm like, what is that game? I'm like, well, let me see what this thing is about. And then it's like, yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. So that's kind of cool, where it's something with the PlayStation 1 that I'm really enjoying. And not only did it reinvigorate my like wanting to collect again, or not that I stopped, but I just slowed down a bunch. Anyway, that's my slow motion interpretation there. But I am getting ready to reorganize my game room. I'm getting ready to redo my setup down here as far as the TV and everything hooked up to it. I got a lot of the stuff I need, like new cords, new power strips, and another HDMI switch, not a splitter, but a switch. Which that was the one that really took me a while to narrow down what I needed, because a lot of you got to be careful with. I found out like how many hertz you're running. A lot of these say 60, but they're actually running at 30 hertz. So if you're gonna hook something up, like especially your modern consoles to it, you got to be careful. I have a monoprice, their old one, the 8 switcher right now, and then I have a cheaper like 4 one that's like a no-name one, and then I think there's 5 that I have running through my stereo, and I kind of want to put everything on 2 main switchers there. So my monoprice, and between my monoprice and this other one that I have, and I'm sorry, it's the brand name is leaving my mind right now, but that's another 8. So on there, that's 16. I'm pretty sure that's enough. But so 16, and then if I have to go with through the stereo or with that other little cheap one too, it should be more than enough. And then the other thing I needed to do was get more outlet, more power strips, and I have 2 power strips back there. The thing that drives me nuts about some of these power strips is that the way they orient the plugs, because some of them orient the way the plugs are on there to where it's very difficult, unless you have a tiny plug or very small, to be able to use every plug on there. And especially when you're running, old game consoles, or even the newer ones, you might not have just a normal standard plug. You may have a little bit of a brick or whatever, and it may come out the side. And getting these to not be, in the way of each other is a real pain in the ass. So I bought a couple of real long ones, and not only are they long, I think each one has 16 outlets, but they're also spaced a little bit wider in between. So like if you have a brick, it's not gonna kind of make it too short or too small of a space on either plug next to it, so you can't plug anything into it. There's going to be plenty of room, which is great. So I got 2 of those, and 16, that's going to be 32. But not only the consoles, but I have a TV. The switchers need to be plugged in because they're powered. The stereo, my subwoofer needs to. So after a while, all of a sudden, you're looking at 16 and 32. 32, I don't think I'm going to fill up all of them, obviously, but it's going to be close. Because it's going to be about 16 consoles, I think, that I am going to be hooking up. In the other than the fact that like I've gotten a real fire again for collecting and getting back into retro gaming, I have gotten to the point to where every system that I want to collect for, I pretty much have, or I should say every system that I plan on collecting for. The only other one I could say that maybe I would ever want to, but I'm probably never going to, is the Neo Geo. And that's just because of the cost. The cost to get a system, the cost of the games. To me, it's just, I already have, I mean, like I said, I'm going to have 16 things plugged in here. It's not really that, I don't need to do another system. I'm going to be okay if I don't have the Neo Geo. And plus, I'm going to have, and I know I've talked about the project before. I keep saying that I'm going to cover it, and I haven't. And that's my bad. But I've been working on, over the last year or two, an emulation project where Neo Geo is on there. And, Neo Geo is very easy to emulate and in very good quality. And so if that's what I have to do for Neo Geo, if I'm not going to collect a physical library of Neo Geo, that's okay. Because, I'm collecting for Nintendo, Super Nintendo, GameCube, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, Sega Master System, Sega CD, Sega 32X, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, Xbox, well, I was going to say Xbox One, but I don't want to do that because that'll confuse everybody. But the original Xbox, the 360, the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, which, I might be getting rid of. Don't say that. But, so, obviously, I have plenty here. More than I probably need. A lot of people have said, am I really still collecting for all of them? And no. And yes, I don't on a regular basis touch every single one of these, but I go in spurts. Sometimes I want to, I'll spend a month and play mostly Sega Dreamcast, and then like out of the clear blue, 1 month I'll be playing nothing but Sega Genesis. So who knows? Who cares? It's just exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to try and do a video of me redoing the whole hookup over here. How that turns out is 50-50, because I've tried to make videos of where it's showing what I'm doing, and it just, when I start editing it, I realize that the footage I have is just horrible. For me, I have a really hard time like keeping the cameras in a spot to where I'm actually doing stuff, because as you're moving, you don't realize that you're moving out of frame unless you're constantly checking. And I'm going to try and put something together that shows, because I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to me. It's just, it's going to be pulling it out, a lot of cleaning, because, I can't even imagine. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of dead bugs or whatever, because I don't normally get all the way back in there to clean everything out. So it's going to be nice to pull everything out, wipe everything down nice and good, and then start all over. I have a labeler, so all the cords are going to be labeled, so we know we're going to be organized. Oh my God, guys. I am getting such a retro boner right now. It's going to be so much fun. So I really hope that I'm able to figure out how to put that all together. But yeah, that was our first thing here I wanted to talk about. Other than Billy, but yeah, just looking forward to that. I hope that my coverage of it, when I tape it, is going to be good enough for you guys, and then I'll edit the video and hopefully get it out to you to where it looks good for you guys. So I keep track of a lot of different facets of our hobby, and one of that is emulation, but there's different kinds of emulation, and FPGA being one of them that I'm a huge fan of. And one thing that in that world that is really exciting right now is the DE25 Nano is getting ready to where you can order it. It's either an order or a pre-order. The way they write it on their website, I'm not really sure. And what the DE25 is, it is the successor to the DE10 Nano development board by Terasic. I think that's how they call it. Terasic. Yeah, that's the company's name. Yeah, so that's an FPGA development board. And for those of you that maybe don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you've heard of the console Mister, which is the FPGA field programmable gate array, like do-it-yourself console for a lot of retro games. So like what you have in, like the Retro Pi, that uses software emulation. Well, this, obviously FPGA, this is what they call like hardware emulation. And it's way more supposed to be way more compatible, a lot less lag than software emulation. It's more pricey. And like the Mister has been something that's been around for a long while now. I don't have one, and I've thought about getting one for years. And when I've tried to get one, things have kept me. More recently has been unfortunately the tariffs have kind of hurt like me trying to. I was going to buy the Mr. Pi when they came back into when they had more available. And it wouldn't let me order it just because it was, for whatever reason, they wouldn't let me. Well, I know why, because of the tariffs, because it's coming in from out of the country. Anyway, and so, the DE25 is what people are hoping is going to be the next step for like the Mister 2. And, I kind of feel like maybe the retro gods are taking care of me a little bit here with making it to where I never bought a Mister 2 or a Mister 1 because I came close to putting one together myself. I mean, they used to have the kits where you could, you put it all together, and then, after COVID, the price skyrocketed. Finding the DE10 development board was really hard. And when you did find it, it was going to be expensive. Getting other people to put it together for you and then shipping it to you was going to be expensive. And you were talking like somewhere around $600, which is a tough pill to swallow, to say the least. But, here we are. And I kind of always wondered. I was like, well, you know what? I kind of feel like I want to wait because I want to, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't want to spend a lot of money. And it was funny because back then it was only going to cost me like $300 some. But I don't want to buy something now and then like in 2 years they're going to come out with the next best thing and it's going to be able to do more consoles than what this can do, because the Mister, the first one, the original one, isn't that powerful. I mean, you have to buy extra RAM, a RAM module to go along with it. Supposedly the DE25, you're not going to have to do that. I'm guessing that the RAM is already on the board. They're soldered on. But, so yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like, this is what I was waiting for back then, even though I didn't know if it was ever going to come. And that's why lately I was kind of like, I want to buy this other one, because they had done cores, the systems that I didn't think were going to be able to run on the original Mister. They had done the Nintendo 64, and there was a 3DO core that is still being worked on, but looks really, really promising, and which is awesome. Because, both of those are, have their difficulties when it comes to being able to emulate them and emulate them well. So, where this leads us, I don't know. Hopefully it's where everybody hopes that it's going to be, an updated Mister, you know, that there's still going to be, even if that's where we're going to go to a Mister 2, the next iteration of this thing, you know, they're obviously going to, all the developers are going to have to take the cores for the different systems that are on the original Mister and port them over to this. But, you know, this is going to be the next big thing, and it's going to be more powerful. I'm 100% on board with that, especially if this means now the cores that were already on there are going to run better, and if that means that maybe we're going to be able to run more powerful systems on there too. You know, even if it only added like 2 more, like, I don't know, like a PlayStation 1. I mean, really, that's, I mean, if it ran like a PlayStation 1 at least, and then everything underneath it, which it already does besides the PlayStation 1, I think, I'm good to go, right? But so on their website, well, let's see. First of all, it's going to be, the board's going to be $248. Now, I guess there's a student discount where it knocks it down to $207. In the big scheme of things, I don't know where that puts it with, like, what I don't know what else you would need to make it a full like system, because, you know, like I said, the Mr. 1, you needed the D10, and then you needed a, you know, the RAM module, and then you needed a USB hub, and other things. So I don't know what's going to be involved in if they do a Mr. 2. But yeah, it says we will start the shipping process immediately after the completion of your PayPal payment. And then it says actual delivery time depends on its in-stock availability of product, which to me, I read that is we have some now, and if you buy it now, we will ship it to you now. But at a certain point in the future, we may not have any more, in which case that's going to turn into a pre-order, and then we will send it to you when we get that in. That's the way I read that. But yeah, super exciting, at least for me. You know, not so much like in, you know, I'm talking about like, I'm really excited about something emulation when I just talked about, you know, me being reinvigorated with collecting. You know, usually that kind of feels like it's one side, 2 sides of the same coin, or 2 different sides of the same coin. But I think they can complement themselves very well. And I know I just love all that tech stuff anyway. I think it's really cool. So Alien Earth, a show that's been on for 8 weeks now. Like I said, I wanted to bring it up last time, but I didn't. I forgot right after I recorded. The finale just dropped last night, and this show was fantastic. And folks, if you haven't watched this show, it's on Hulu. You know, I think almost everybody has Hulu now, especially if they have Disney Plus, because, you know, everything comes bundled in. But what a great show. And for those not in the know, Alien Earth is based off of the world of the movie Alien and Aliens with Sigourney Weaver back in the day. And this is kind of along the timeline, this is like between what was there, Alien Covenant, and then it's after Alien Covenant, and it's before the original Alien movie. I believe that's where this timeline's at. And it is so interesting. First of all, the people that put this together, you know, I mean, anybody that's an Aliens fan or a Predators fan knows that they have enjoyed like giving us not so great stuff. I mean, and sometimes it's really not so great. There's been some movies that have been like, this isn't good at all. And then some that were, it was okay. You know, I don't think it was a waste of my time. Like, Covenant was okay. Prometheus, I don't know. It was okay. I didn't really care for Prometheus. Anyway, but I'm a huge fan of the original two, and maybe a little bit of the third. And so when they said they were making Alien Earth, which was a show, and this stuff was the whole show almost was going to be on Earth, and I was just like, dude, that sounds great. Please don't mess it up. And I hate to say that, but experience has shown me that, Aliens is definitely one of those franchises to where, people get a hold of it and they like to do some wacky stuff with it. And they knocked this thing out of the park. There was 8 episodes, and this thing, I don't want to give too many spoilers here because, if you haven't watched it, but I mean, I guess I'm going to say right now, if you haven't watched it and you plan on watching it, you're probably going to switch off right about now. I will give you the thumbs up when we're done talking about it. But yeah, just assume that what I'm going to do is to spoil the whole thing for you right now. But the whole premise of this is where the world is now controlled by companies. Governments seem to have disappeared, and I think there's 4 or 5 large companies that have taken over the earth, and one of them being the one that we're all familiar with, Weyland-Yutani, which is the one that Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, worked for. And they're in Blade Runner and all that. Weyland-Yutani has been around forever in the lore of kind of that universe. But there are, but now we're seeing, what the other, we only got to see one other company, really, at least in this season. And like their banter back and forth and like how they handle each other and how they look at things, as far as what their motives are to do stuff. And it's very interesting. And at the same time, too, they had so many things going on. And the big premise was we started off where the company that was the main company, I can't remember the name of it because I just remember Weyland-Yutani, which is not the company that we're part of. But the company that you're with most of the time is run and owned by this boy genius. They call him a boy genius. And this dude is the worst. He's annoying as shit, but he's a great character. And on his end, they're on this island, and it's like the scientific island, this facility, and they're developing a way to have the consciousness of people when their bodies are getting ready to die be transferred to robots. And like they call them synths in that universe, and they look exactly like human beings. It's just that they're robots. Anyway, so they do this with a handful of kids that have cancer, unfortunately, or terminal cancer, and they put the bodies in there, or the consciousness in these new bodies, and it's a third of the show is kind of about that, and like them like dealing with them being like in their grown-up bodies at that. So they put kids' consciousness like about, I think they're all about 11 or 12 in these grown-up bodies, which is wild because all the actors that played kids that, obviously the actors and actresses are all adults now in real life, but they played those parts so well. And then you had the other part of the show where it was a Weyland-Yutani ship had been sent out, decades ago to pick up all these life forms, these sketchy life forms. And one of them was the xenomorph, the eggs. But then there was this eyeball with tentacles. What else? Like this, I thought it was a plant. This thing with like a tentacle that comes down out of it and can eat people, like a whole bunch of stuff. Like none of these things, if they get out, was going to make your day better. None of it. It was all over as soon as these things get out, right? And then they had, they explained that the world also had, besides the synths, people that were just robots, and that's all they were. You know, they also had other things called cyborgs, where they were human, but they were augmented with, you know, appendages or parts of themselves that were mechanical, and in which, so they kind of lived in between worlds of humans and synths, and it was very well put together. And by put together, I mean they put together a feeling of that world that was very creepy, that was very foreboding, kind of, because the world had kind of fallen into neglect, and just there was a lot of angst throughout the world, I guess you could say. Your normal people were not living their best lives, and it just seems like these companies just drained the world and the people of everything that they could, just to increase their power and their hold on everything. And in the way they portrayed that in this show was excellent and very well executed. And from minute one, when you watch this show, you just had that kind of feeling where it was like, man, I don't think I'd want to live in that world. It just seems like it's the worst. And what's interesting is you kind of see that if you watch the original Blade Runner, and with the second one too, I guess. Like, you kind of see that, like, how the world had kind of died. Like, the human race had just, you know, killed the Earth and just wrecked house. And now the Earth was just, like, very much not a very hospitable place for humans. But I would say in Blade Runner, though, that universe isn't quite the same as the Alien, even though it's the same Weyland-Yutani company that's running a lot of this stuff. There, it seemed like, yeah, the Earth was just gone, but, it seemed like your average person had a little bit better quality of life than what's being portrayed here. But, whatever, we're just splitting hairs on that. But, so the finale was last night. I'm not going to talk to you about it, because even if you had already watched everything and not watched the finale, I don't want to ruin it, even though I'm going to give you a thumbs up here in a second. It's great, guys. If you have not watched it, you need to go and watch it. I'm going to probably watch it again, just for things that I may have missed or may not. Spoiler alert again, there is going to definitely be a second season, and I cannot wait. And the only thing that sucks right now is that we're going to have to wait. I don't know if they're already working on it, but, these things don't make themselves, that quickly. So, but, it'll definitely be worth the wait, and I'm really excited to see where this thing goes. It's gonna be super interesting. So check it out. On the flip side, we're gonna talk really fast about another show that was kind of near and dear to my heart when the first season came out, and that was Peacemaker with John Cena. And can we just talk a little bit about John Cena? I haven't been a wrestling fan since, like, let's say, the Attitude Era. I was a big fan of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and Andre the Giant back in the 80s when they were all with WWF. But then, like, not until the Attitude Era did I really, really get into it, and that was kind of like, something all into itself. Anywho, I kind of knew who John Cena was, as a wrestler. Okay, whatever, not really my thing at that point by the time he came along. And then he started getting in the movies. And I knew some people that were just like, I can't stand that guy. I can't whatever that. I just don't care for John Cena. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't one way or the other. And then I started seeing him in things. And I seen him, he was in a movie called Trainwreck with, who's that comedian? She's a blonde. Oh, God. But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And he plays her boyfriend for like the first half of the movie, right? And he is hilarious in this movie and so genuine and so nice. And I'm like, I don't know a lot about John Cena, but this guy's pretty good at acting and he's hilarious. I love this guy. And ever since then, and I'd seen a thing of him here or there, and it was okay. And then he became Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad, but the second one. And both Suicide Squads, I thought they were okay. Wasn't necessarily a huge fan of his character in the Suicide Squad. So when they announced that first season, that they were going to make a show of it, I was like, I don't know about that. And that first show just blew me away. And he blew me away. And ever since then, I have been a huge John Cena fan. And so now we are probably coming up towards the end of the second season. And while I will say, I don't know that the second season has hit me as hard as the first one, meaning I love the first one and I like the second season. That being said, it has only furthered my belief that John Cena is a good actor. I believe he is a great person. I love his personality. I love how he plays the character. And I got to admit, the guy has some range. There was an episode. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to give the thumbs up. I'm sorry. Welcome back to all the people that we're talking about Alien Earth. We're on to Peacemaker here. You missed a little bit, but you can go back about 2-3 minutes and see what we're talking about. Anyway, you all get to come back. Anyway, yeah, he has some range, and there is an episode this season to where so the whole thing is if you watch the first season, you know that his father had a doorway to other dimensions. And the whole thing is kind of based around that. Him going into this other dimension and found a parallel dimension to his own where he was there, but his brother was there still alive and his father. And if you know from last season, him growing up, he accidentally killed his brother in a fight that his father wanted him to do when they were kids. So his brother was dead and his father was this racist piece of garbage in the show. Really good actor, played him, and now that guy's name just slipped. He played the Liquid Terminator in Terminator 2 Judgment Day back in the day. And so now in this season, he goes to he finds a parallel universe and where his brother and father are still alive, and all three of them are fighting crime and beloved by everyone. And his brother loves him, and his father's a really good guy and loves him. And there is a moment to where he's sitting with them, and they don't know that he's not their peacemaker. And he's sitting with them, and they got up to go somewhere else, and they tell them, his father says, I love you, and walks off, and he starts crying. Boy, did it hit me in the feels. And I'm like, man, look at John Cena making me tear up, man. I'm like, I'm not going to lie. I was pretty shocked. And I'm like, but maybe I wasn't that shocked because, I'd kind of been, carrying the banner for him ever since that first season, or even since Trainwreck. But anyway, long story short, because we're already running almost to an hour here. Oh God, and we still got to get to something else here. Anyway, the season has been okay. Well, it's been more than okay. It's a good season. I really enjoyed last season, maybe a little bit more because it was something new and something I hadn't seen before. This season, it seems like there's a little bit more of a lull in between things, and it just, I think the biggest problem here is what's going on is Alien Earth. Those episodes are long. They they go on for a while. I think they're like an hour, but like an honest hour, which is, you never see that anymore, especially if you're on Disney. But Peacemaker seems like it's over really quick, the episodes. And I think that's kind of like, I just keep wanting more. But you know what? And it is what it is. And I really enjoy what they got going on right now. I don't want to get into it that much more because guys should go and watch it for yourselves. And if you haven't, and if you have been watching, then you know what I'm talking about. It's a great show. I love John Cena. I love all the characters that they have into it. Sometimes it just gets so bonkers, like over the top with things, but that's the charm of the show, I think. And by the way, it is definitely, most definitely not for kids. So if you think you're going to watch it with the kids in the room, no. Yeah. Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct. People always kind of make a big deal out of this. You always hear, did you watch the Nintendo Direct? And I'm always like, I don't know. With with YouTube now, yeah, you're going to kind of, and with all the YouTubers, you're kind of going to get an idea of what was said. Now, this had come out, last week? I think it was the 12th. So I'm kind of behind the times here. I'm sure everyone already knows all the information I'm going to talk about. But we are a gaming channel. So Daddy's going to give you what you want. Okay, that was a little creepy. I apologize for that. I'm tired, man. So I did watch the Nintendo Direct. I think this might be the first one that I ever actually watched all the way through. And we're going to hit some of the stuff because a lot of this stuff, like, I'll be honest with you, not that it's bad or it's not bad or good. It's just I don't care about. Which is not saying anything. It's just, it ain't my thing. Let's talk about the one thing that everybody is talking about. They're coming out with another Virtual Boy, which I've never been more like, I'm like, let's re-release the thing that was the worst thing that we've ever released. As far as I can think of. Obviously, it's going to be an accessory for the Switch and the Switch 2. You actually put the Switch into the I don't know what the Virtual Boy, I guess you would say, and then you reach your arms up and then you have the controller, and you still got to put your face. I don't want to say it's stupid because I know people out there that are excited about this and think this is neat. And, but I've never had a Virtual Boy, but I have used Virtual Boys in the past. And there's a reason why they were the worst. They are so uncomfortable. They, to me, are this is stupid, and I will say this is stupid, and that just being my opinion, in the way of, as far as gaming goes. I think that, being able to use it, it's and just I don't know. I don't know I don't know what I want to say here. Just how fun it is to use. I don't think it's going to be that great. Kind of like the original one. That being said, as far as a collectible thing kind of goes, I think that is kind of cool. I would be more stoked if it was, to me, if it was actually the system, like a newer, updated system, and not just the Switch being put in there. Because all it is an accessory. They're charging $100 for this thing, and I'm like, I kind of feel like no, but I don't know if you guys are feeling it. If I'm kind of conveying how much I am not excited over this. I'm trying to be. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum here, and like I said, I mean, all of these things that I say here are just my own opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying no. I am not going to be dropping $100 on this thing. Do I think it's going to be fun? I do not think it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a very much a flash in the pan. I don't know why they're doing this, but this, I've always said that Nintendo, the one thing Nintendo is really good at is repackaging their properties and reselling them over the years. That's why that's why I like Nintendo can go pack sand when they talk about like guys emulating their stuff and like downloading games illegally and this and that. I'm like, do you understand how many times I have repurposed or repurchased some of your properties over and over and over again on different ways to play them with here and there? Don't tell me that, that I can't do that. So that's why I kind of get like a little annoyed. Anyway, getting off subject. So this is what they're very good at, is repackaging old stuff, playing off nostalgia. And I don't, if I were them, I wouldn't produce a lot of these right off the bat. Or, I don't know, maybe they're just doing a pre-order. The thing being is, it's gonna work for both the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. And it also, you can put it in a Lobo, which I totally forgot about those things, which tells you how much I was interested in those. But they are actually, there's going to be another one that's kind of painted like a Virtual Boy. So yay, I guess. I mean, for all the, I know Tom and Lacey from Do You Nerd, I know you guys are super excited about it, and I'm so happy that you guys are. And, I guess for those people that are really excited about it, I'm happy for you guys, but I shouldn't have said it's stupid. I just think for me, it's just not going to be my jam. But it was an interesting move. If I would have had to guess and put money down on like something that they were going to repackage and try and sell you again, this would have never made any of my lists. So, hey, for the people that are going to love this, that's great. Good for you guys, right? Another thing that they're doing, so I guess this is like the 40th anniversary now of when Super Mario Brothers first was on a console in Japan. And so like they're doing all this stuff for the 40th, and they are going to release Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, which is, interesting. Now it's going to come, it's both for PlayStation, Switch 1 and Switch 2. There's going to be a physical copy with both of them on there, or you can buy them separately digitally. It's really interesting because like I bought the 3D All Stars or whatever it was, like 3 years ago now, and so I think the first Galaxy's on there. I don't think both of them are. So this was kind of interesting that they went this route, but I never put a lot of time into either one of these games, when I probably should go back and do that. So I don't know what else to say about that. It's like, so that's coming. Or actually, I think it's already available right now. They're coming out with a Mario Tennis Fever. The only reason why I put that on here is because it's like, oh, that's not very exciting. I will say I have played Mario Tennis on, I want to say it was, what is it, the GameCube or something. And Mario Tennis is always really fun, no matter what it's on. So that's why I put this on here, because I'm like, I love me some Mario Tennis. The only thing that's weird is like they're trying to make it more of like a game. So like I guess there's a world you can walk around where in between matches or whatever, which is like, I don't know, that might be interesting. They are releasing a Talking Flower toy from the Super Mario Brothers game Wonder. I haven't played yet. It looks good. And that I got to be honest with you. I'm not a big picker up of toys. That looks kind of cool. I might have to pick that up. And then it looks like it talks or whatever. I guess in the game it talks. So, I guess maybe if I'm going to have a gaming channel, I should play these games, right? Oh, there is a Yoshi game coming out. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Is that book? Yeah. Side scroller coming out in spring of 2026, and that's on the Switch too. I love Yoshi games. I love the Yoshi game. Was it on? I think it was on the Switch 2 or Switch 1. Anyway, I loved that game. I love side-scrolling games. So good. Unfortunately, it's just going to be on the Switch 2, I think. At least that's all it said, which really sucks because I don't know that I'm going to buy a Switch 2 anytime soon. But I have until May, I think. Or no, it just says spring. So, yeah, what is crazy is the original Switch is my favorite console as of right now of all times, and it has been for a little while. So you would think like I was all excited for the Switch 2. Not so much. But I will say the one thing that is making me interested in buying it, nothing else has made me interested in buying it. The one thing that is making me interested in buying it is this new Yoshi game that's coming out. Because it looks really fun and it looks really cool. And like I said, I love some side-scrolling action, so we might do it. And you know what else is coming out? A sequel to a game where I didn't even know there was a first game. And this game looks like I want to get some action here. Power Washer Simulator 2. I didn't even know there was a first one. It's coming out on the Switch at some point. It's the Switch 2. I think it said in May. Uh-oh. Hold on there, guys. I'll be right back. My son just got home from school. Hold on. And we are back. Sorry, guys. My son just got out of school, and I had locked the door on him. What are they talking about? Power Washing 2 Simulator. Power Washer 2. I seen this, and I was like, out of all the things that I've seen, that's one of the ones that I really do like. It looks awesome. I mean, to be honest with you, as a dad, I have a power washer. I feel like that's one of the things as a father that you should have once you hit middle age. And it is super satisfying every time I use it. And to know that they have a video game, and not only one game, but 2 games, I'm going to have to pick that up. It says it's coming to the Switch 2. I don't know if it's going to come to the Switch 1, but it looks like when I looked it up, it's going to be like on everything. It's not an exclusive to Switch, but they threw it on there, which is really interesting. And that's it. That's all I did. There was other stuff there, and take a look at it. It's on the Direct is on online on YouTube, but that's what's the stuff that I thought maybe you guys would be interested in. This was the stuff that I was interested in. But that's it, guys. What else did I forget? I know I forgot something, but that's okay. We will get it next time. That's going to be it for me right now. I am going to go and I was going to take a nap, but I got to start editing this. So I am really bad at editing these videos. It was much easier when I kept it to audio, but then I decided to be all fancy. And, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna put it on YouTube as a video. And then I'm like, well, I want to put some graphics with it a little bit. And now I actually have to sit there and do an actual editing job. So, hey, whatever. It is what it is. It's all for you guys. I want your experience here on the worst podcast ever to maybe be not so bad. But, I'm going to keep it not so great too, because then it's not going to be the worst podcast ever. It's going to be the semi-okay podcast, and that just won't do. So, all right, guys. Well, that just about wraps it up for me. I am out. I am hoping that you enjoyed this one. I enjoyed talking to you guys. I enjoyed getting my notes together and all this stuff. I actually had a lot to say this time. So, but that being said, it was great seeing you guys. It was great talking to you guys, even though I didn't see you guys. But until next time, good night and goodbye.
Hands up.